Hello everybody and welcome back to my kitchen. This is my second video and today we're going to do some more baking. And this is sort of an emergency baking when friends call you and they say, oh, we're just going to come over for a cup of tea. Are you there? And you go, I don't have anything at home. So everybody has flour and butter. So we're going to make shortbread today, and we're going to make stewed apples in puff pastry. It's all very easy to make, very simple. And then I'm going to show you my recipe for chai, for Indian chai. I come from a tea drinking nation, as you all know, but I've lived in India for a long time, or I did live in India for a long time, and I became addicted to chai. So I'm going to show you how to make my chai today. So the first thing I need to do is to make the apples for our apples and puff pastry. Okay, I'm going to take, this is clarified butter. I like to use this when I'm making stewed apples because it hopefully prevents them from burning, gives them a nice taste. This is homemade ghee or clarified butter, which I'm going to show in one of the next videos. And these are the apples. I've cut them very fine. So I just put them into the ghee, and I like to put a little bit of sugar because you don't know how sour the apples are. And I'm going to just put 2 tablespoons of sugar and a little cinnamon. Like, I would say that's probably about maybe a teaspoon. But you can put, whatever in there that you like. You can put nutmeg, or you can put mixed spice. We get that in Ireland, mixed spice. And I'm just going to cover this and let it cook until they're soft. And in the meantime, we can start with our shortbread. And in about 2 minutes, the whole kitchen is going to be full with this lovely smell of stewing apples and cinnamon. That'll take about 10 minutes to cook, I would say. So we'll get started on our shortbread. I have here a normal flour. I have to tell you how much it is. It's 130 grams of plain flour. It's 40 grams of rice flour, and here is 60 grams of caster sugar. We call it caster sugar in Ireland and in Great Britain. It's called fine sugar here. It's very, very fine. So, and it just makes the shortbread very soft. And here I have 115 grams of soft butter, and I'll put some. This is ground ginger, and that will come in afterwards. Okay, so I just need to cream the sugar and the butter. I like to do this by hand. I mean, there are sort of different thoughts about shortbread. Some people make the dough and then they put it in the fridge for about 15 minutes, but I just find that I can never roll it out. So I just mix the dough and then just pat it out on a floured surface. Yeah, so today is St. Patrick's Day. I'm not wearing green, unfortunately, and I'm looking outside. I can hardly see any green in the garden because it snowed this morning. So we're getting quite a snowy St. Patrick's Day. And I think all of the St. Patrick's Day parades have been cancelled anyway. But if all goes well today with this baking, I might even sing a song. Let's see. So just cream the sugar and the butter. The traditionalists among us will probably make these petticoats that they're in a round, and then you cut them sort of in like triangular shapes. But for me, it's a lot easier just to cut it out into cookie shapes. And you can make this you can put cocoa powder in it, you can put ground almonds in it, you can put almond flavoring in it. It's a very sort of it's just a basic recipe, but I just like this. I'm a great fan of ginger, so I just like to make it with ginger powder, or you can put sort of crystallized ginger on the top. So that's pretty well creamed, the sugar and the butter. So we'll just put the flour. This is normal plain flour, white flour, and just until it's nicely mixed. The butter has to be very soft, otherwise you don't ever get it. So you have to, if you're going to do them, you have to have it out of the fridge for a while. I tried making these for friends of mine one time as gluten-free, and it really was lovely. They were working, so it smelled so nice. And then I opened the oven and it had gone into one big cake. There was no shape. All of my nice little cutout cookies had sort of gone into one big flat sheet. So I just let it cool down to half, and while it was still sort of warm, I just cut it into shapes, and that kind of worked. It's a bit difficult with the gluten-free flour. And just knead it a bit, and then I'll put it on this surface, and then I'll cut it into shapes. So I don't know if you saw my last video with the Irish bread. I know I got some nice feedback from people that had made it, and it seemed to work okay. The next videos I want to get into a little bit of more of sort of Indian cooking, so stay tuned. It's coming together nicely, this dough, and the warmth of your hand will kind of keep the butter soft. So I just forgot something. Now here's me talking about ginger, and I didn't even put it in there, so I'll just have to knead the whole thing again. And it's a teaspoon of ginger. It's nice and soft. I just find it so much easier to work with if it hasn't been in the fridge. And I just pat it out sort of into a shape, and then I'll cut it into cookie shapes with my little cookie cutter. And cut it out not too thin, like, about sort of like that. I have the oven on at 150. It doesn't need a very hot temperature. And you just bake it actually until it's still white, until the cookies are still light coloured, and just on the edges they are a little brown. I've just put some parchment paper on here. You can cut these out with a glass, or you can cut them into any kind of shapes you like, so it's sort of like that. It's a very malleable kind of a dough. It doesn't mind being a bit manhandled. This is absolutely an emergency. It goes very, very quickly, and you don't need much. If you don't have rice flour, you can just use all normal flour. The rice flour gives it kind of a nice crumb, a nice sort of a tender, melt in your mouth kind of a feel to it. So that's why I like to use partial rice flour. It's an absolutely great day to be in the kitchen. I woke up this morning and the whole world was white. It snowed in the night, but it'll probably be gone by tomorrow. Oh, that looks a bit like Ireland. Not intentional, but sometimes it just happens. Keep them a little bit apart. Sometimes they don't usually spread a lot, but they might, and so if they stick together, that's okay. It doesn't really matter. We'll use the rest of the scraps up later, but I'll get these into the oven. And what I like to do is just to sprinkle a little sugar on the top. And then they're ready to go in the oven at 150. And I say about 15, maybe 20 minutes, but we'll have a look. We'll put our clock on. So I'm just going to put this in the oven now. And we'll put our clock on to 15 minutes. So our next recipe is apples in puff pastry. We've let the apples cool. They're nice and soft. And so I have this little gadget here, which is really nice for cutting them out. But you can just make squares and make triangles if you like. But this kind of works quite nicely. And it goes on to that little thing. And then I just put a little milk just to seal it. And about a teaspoon of apple mixture. It shouldn't be too much, otherwise they won't close. And the apples will come out, but it's okay still. And then you just put it like that. And you have that little. So we'll just continue until all of the dough is finished. These have to go into the oven about 180, and if it doesn't stick, which this one isn't, you just take a fork and just seal it like that. So as soon as these are all done, we'll come back to you. So these are our shortbread. So we took them out. Now they look perfect. They just have to be a little brown on the edges and white, and still, they don't need to be dark brown. This is typical for shortbread. The whole kitchen just smells wonderful, and we can't wait to get stuck in, but you can't start now because you just burn your mouth. So I just put them to the side and let them cool on the paper, and then we'll go on. We're almost finished with our apple. I need to turn this up to 180, and this can go here. After we've made these little pockets, there was a little dough left, so we've rolled it, and I'm just going to use the rest of it up. And the rest of the apple. The apple's probably just going to be enough. That's 2 apples we used, and that'll be enough for these. And they'll take another about 15 minutes in the oven. What I like to do is just to brush them a little with a little milk. I don't use eggs, but you can brush them with the egg yolk if you like, just to keep them from drying out. So I'm going to put these in the oven now. Let's heat it to 180. Oh, okay. And I'll set my little clock for 20 minutes. So we're going to make my chai now, as there are very different versions of chai. Some people like to put cardamom in there, or cinnamon, and all kinds of tea spices. When I was living in India, I learned a very traditional way of making chai, which is just with tea, ginger, sugar, and milk. For 2 cups, I just measure it in here. 2 cups of water. And I've got it on the highest. This is my little teapot. I've been using it for, I think, since I moved to Munich, so it's quite old. And here I have 2 teaspoons of grated ginger. And I like my chai to be sweet, but you can put as much sugar in there as you like. I like to have 1.5 teaspoons for my cup. So if that's 2 cups, I'm putting 3 teaspoons of sugar. But if I have guests, then I don't put any sugar and I let them sweeten it themselves. So we'll just let that come to the boil, or almost to the boil, and then I'll show the rest of it. For this chai, you don't take this long leaf tea because that gets bitter if you boil it. But this is like very fine chai tea. I got this actually in an Indian shop, but there are brands that you can get in Great Britain, or in the organic shops here. They have nice Indian tea that looks like this. So we're just waiting for this to almost come to a boil. It's getting there. You don't want to put the tea in too early, otherwise if you boil it, it gets very bitter. Now this tea is quite strong. I like my tea strong. I don't like weak tea, what my father used to call shamrock tea, 3 leaves. I like it nice, robust tasting tea, and I don't like to have too many different kinds of spices in it because you can't taste the tea. So you just have to be patient and let it almost come to the boil. And when it almost comes to the boil, then we put the tea in. And I put 1 spoon for each cup. So here it comes. So I just put that in there. And we'll just let this come to a boil again. I usually let it boil for a few seconds. And then we have to put it to the side. And the way that you know that the tea is finished is that the tea has sunk to the bottom of the pot. That means that the tea is ready. And in that time, I'll just boil some milk. We like to have our tea with warm milk. And it's just really the ginger in the tea actually helps to reduce the bitterness of the tea or the sourness of the tea. Sometimes if you drink too much tea, it can be a bit sour. So it reduces that effect. It's a very, very healthy ingredient to use, ginger. I use it in a lot of things. I use it in my Indian cooking. I make ginger water. It's just an all-rounder and very, very healthy. In the Ayurvedic kitchen, it's a very popular ingredient. So it's boiling now, and once it comes up, I'll take it off the heat and just let it sit for a few minutes and just cover it for a minute or 2. Yeah. So some of them opened, that happens, but here we are. Now we'll just let those cool, and then we'll pour our tea, and then I'll show you what happens to them after that. The tea is falling to the bottom of the pot, so that means it's ready to be poured. And I like to use this to make sure it all goes in to the pot. This is our thermos. It's a nice colour. Put hair on your chest. And as soon as everything's cooled, we'll show you what it all looks like. And as a final touch, I'll put some powdered sugar. They sort of look as if somebody's trying to talk to me. And now we'll just put some tea. Here we have 2 apple in puff pastry, and we have 2 shortbread. We might eat more, but we'll try not to be too greedy at first. Enjoy. See you next time. Okay, it's St. Patrick's Day, so I'm going to sing a little Irish song for you. It's one of my favourites, and it goes like this. Oh, Peggy Gordon, you are me darling. Come sit ye down upon my knee. Come tell to me the very reason why I am slighted so by thee. I'm so in love that I can't deny it. My heart lies smothered in my breast. It's not for you to let the world know it. A troubled mind sure can know no rest. Oh, Peggy Gordon, you are me darling. Come sit ye down upon my knee. Come tell to me the very reason why I am slighted so by thee. Why I am slighted so by thee. Happy St. Patrick's Day!